Marcus Reed's bid hammer slammed down at $300, the auctioneer's voice cutting through the dusty air like a blade. "Sold to the man in the black jacket!" Eyes turned toward him, a ripple of curiosity among the bargain hunters clustered under the fluorescent lights of the storage facility lot in Reno, Nevada. Marcus, broad-shouldered and scarred from 2 decades in the SEALs, felt the weight of those stares but ignored them. He had trained his mind to filter noise, to focus on the objective. This unit, number 47, was his now, sight unseen, a gamble on forgotten relics. He approached the rusted roll-up door as the crowd dispersed, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt. His gloved hands gripped the chain, muscles coiling from muscle memory. One sharp yank, and the door screeched upward, revealing a cavern of shadows stacked with tarps and cardboard towers. The air hit him first, stale, laced with the faint tang of aged paper and metal. No one had touched this place in years. Marcus stepped inside, flashlight beam slicing the gloom, his boots echoing softly. If you're gripped by this mystery already, hit that subscribe button, like this video. Share it with a friend and drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from today. Let's build this community together. Deeper in, he peeled back the first tarp. Stacks of yellowed newspapers from the 80s tumbled out, headlines blurring in the beam. Cold War echoes, forgotten scandals. Not valuable, but methodical as always, Marcus catalogued them mentally. SEAL discipline kept him steady. No rushing, no assumptions. Next, wooden crates splintered at the edges. He pried one open with a crowbar from his truck, revealing porcelain figurines, delicate and cracked, gathering dust like ghosts of a lavish past. Worth a few bucks online, maybe. But something nagged at him. A prickle at the base of his skull honed from too many ops gone sideways. Then in the far corner, shrouded under a mildewed canvas, sat a heavy steel locker, military grade, padlocked with a combination dial that gleamed unnaturally fresh. Marcus froze. His light lingered on the stenciled markings, faded olive drab, stamped with coordinates, somewhere in the Pacific, 1944. His pulse quickened, not from fear, but recognition. He'd seen lockers like this in classified bunkers, holding secrets that outlasted wars. Who abandoned something like this? He tested the lock. Solid. No give. Kneeling, he examined the dial, gers tracing numbers worn smooth by use. 0000. Trial and error. No time for that now. The auction rules gave him until dusk to clear the unit. But this locker pulled at him, an anchor in the chaos of his post-service life. 6 months ago, he'd left the teams after a mission that left invisible fractures, nights staring at ceilings, savings draining on a civilian rental in Sparks. Storage auctions were his side hustle, flipping junk for rent money. This felt different, personal. He fetched bolt cutters from his toolbox, the snip echoing like a gunshot in the coned space. The lock shattered, hasp clattering to the concrete. Inside, no weapons, no gold bars. Instead, bundled letters tied with twine, a leather journal cracked with age, and at the bottom a velvet pouch heavy with coins. Marcus lifted the journal first, its cover embossed with initials. ERH, not his. He flipped it open, pages whispering secrets. March 15th, 1945. The drop was clean, but Tanaka suspects. Hid the payload in the reef, coordinates etched inside. The handwriting was precise, urgent. Marcus's breath caught. Tanaka. Japanese name, W2 Theater. He scanned further. Sketches of islands, tide charts, references to the artifact, something smuggled, priceless beyond money. His SEAL brain kicked in, evasion tactics, dead drops. This wasn't junk, this was a trail. The letters next, envelopes postmarked San Diego, addressed to ERH from a woman named Leela. Love woven with worry. Your silence terrifies me. The war took you once. Don't let shadows take you again. Marcus's hands steadied them, but his mind raced. Why here in a Reno locker? He untied the pouch, not coins, medallions gold-washed engraved with kanji and a rising sun, imperial Japanese mint marks, relics from the era when empires hid treasures to deny enemies. A noise outside snapped him alert. A car door slamming nearby. Footsteps. He doused the flashlight, crouching in shadow. Paranoia from old habits. Or real? The steps faded. Still, doubt crept in. Was this a plant? Auctions drew scavengers, collectors with deep pockets. He repacked carefully, hauling the locker to his battered Ford F-150 under cover of twilight. Back home, a sparse apartment overlooking the desert, he locked the door triple bolts and spread the contents on his kitchen table, scarred from knife work. Hours blurred. The journal unfolded a saga. ERH. Edward Harlan, OSS operative, precursor to CIA. Infiltrated Japanese outposts late war, tasked with securing the Relic, a jade amulet said to hold Emperor's lineage secrets, cursed or blessed depending on whispers. Harlan evaded capture, stashing clues before vanishing stateside. Lila's letters begged return. Last entry. Reno bound. Trust no one. Key in the medallion. Marcus held a medallion to the light. A seam. He pried with a blade. Inside, microfilm strip, tiny frames of maps, ledgers, bank accounts in Zurich, dormant since '46. Millions potentially. His life flashed, evictions dodged, therapy sessions skipped. This could rewrite it all. But complexity gnawed. Harlan's path mirrored his own, loyalty fracturing under secrets. Was this fortune or trap? Dawn crept through blinds as he cross-referenced coordinates online. Micronesia, atoll chain. Diveable, but risky. Ex-SEAL meant skills intact, but solo? He paced, muscles taut. A knock shattered silence. Landlord, rent due. Marcus shoved items into a duffel, mind whirling. Stall for time. Driving to a local library next day, anonymous research, he digitized the microfilm. Accounts traced to shell companies, whispers of black market antiquities. One name repeated, Victor Kane, Reno collector, known for acquiring war spoils. Marcus's jaw set. Kane had bid against him yesterday, dropped out early. Coincidence? He shadowed Kane's gallery downtown, upscale facade hiding vaulted back rooms. Through tinted windows, Marcus spotted the man, silver-haired, sharp suit, examining a Pacific mask. Inside, under pretense of selling figurines, Marcus probed. Unit 47, Harlan's locker. Interested? Kane's eyes narrowed, feigning disinterest. Harlan. Myth, but 300, you'd flip for thousands. Offer $5,000 cash. Marcus declined inwardly. This was bigger. Tension coiled as Kane leaned in. Some relics draw trouble. Walk away richer. Night fell. Marcus returned home, duffel secure. Sleep evaded. Dreams of submerged reefs, shadowy figures. Morning brought email ping, anonymous. Harlan's trail ends where it begins. Check the journal's last page. He did. Hidden ink, UV revealed. Photo negative. Developed hastily at a 1-hour lab, it showed a young Harlan beside Marcus's grandfather. Same jawline, same eyes. The pieces collided. Family tie? Grandpa Reed had spun vague war tales, Pacific theater. Marcus dug old boxes from his closet. Faded photos matched. Harlan wasn't stranger, blood. The locker wasn't random auction fodder. It was legacy delivered, or bait. Phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Reed, we know what you have. Meet at the old airfield midnight, or it vanishes. Voice distorted, threat veiled. Marcus's training surged. Exfil protocols, contingencies. He loaded his truck. Dive gear, GPS, the journal. No police, too many questions. This changed everything. Not just money, but identity. Midnight loomed. Airfield outskirts, wind-whipping sagebrush. Headlights pierced fog. Black SUV idled. Marcus approached, shadowed stance ready. Door opened. Not Kane. A woman, mid-40s, poised. Lila's granddaughter. Harlan was my great-uncle. You've activated what he protected. Her name, Elena Voss. She extended hand, not weapon. The amulet's real, cursed with greed, they say. But together, we claim it. Legally, museums pay fortunes. Split even. Marcus weighed it. Trust fracture from service lingered. Solo op or alliance. Tension hummed as they circled details. Dive coordinates synced. Timelines tight. Betrayal sent faint, but her eyes held Harlan's steel. Dawn expedition launched. Private charter to atolls, waves churning below. Marcus donned tanks, Eleanor monitoring from boat. Descent, coral labyrinth, pressure building. There, sunken crate, marked. Pried open, jade gleamed ethereal. Not just relic, key to accounts, proof of lineage. Surfacing, triumph mixed wariness. Back stateside, auction houses buzzed. Millions wired, lives upended. Marcus bought land, quiet ranch. Elena vanished post-split, but letters arrived, partnership hints, yet shadows lingered. Kane's gallery shuttered overnight. Anonymous notes warned of rivals. Marcus trained anew, journal enshrined. Legacy claimed, but vigilance eternal. The locker had unlocked more than fortune. A reckoning with roots, pulling him from drift into purpose. If this tale has you on the edge, smash subscribe, like, share with your crew, and comment your thoughts. Where would you dive next? Stay tuned for the twists ahead. Jake Harlan gripped the weathered journal tighter. Its leather cover cracked like parched earth under desert suns. The pages whispered secrets of forgotten depths, coordinates etched in faded ink, pointing to a shadow off the Carolina coast. His calloused gears traced the map's edges, heart pounding not from fear, but from the electric pull of mission reborn. This wasn't some relic for eBay. This was a call to arms disguised as parchment. He'd served 12 years with the SEALs, surfacing from ops that left scars invisible to the eye. Post-discharge, life blurred into odd jobs, bouncer gigs, security consults. Nights blurred worse, staring at ceilings that mocked his stillness. The storage auction? A whim, $300 on Unit 47 after spotting a glint of brass through the slats. Now this. Captain Elias Thorne's log, dated 1943. Thorne, a Navy salvage expert, had pinpointed the wreck of the SS Meridian, laden with payroll gold for Pacific forces. Sank in a storm, location guarded till Thorne's AL entry. For the worthy dear, claim it, or let tides keep it. Jake slammed the unit door shut, muscles coiling like before a halo jump. Dusk clawed at the sky outside the sprawling facility in Wilmington, North Carolina. He loaded the DS, a brass sextant, watertight charts, and a rusted dive log into his battered Ford F-150. Keys turned sharp, engine growled to life. But as tires crunched gravel, headlights pierced his mirrors. A black SUV idling too long at the auction lot's edge. Paranoia, or instinct. SEAL training didn't fade. He veered onto I-40, weaving through salt-kissed traffic. The SUV mirrored, distant but persistent. Jake's mind raced grids. Auction bidders, 3 stood out. The wiry guy in the Stetson muttering bids. The polished woman with the clipboard, eyes like hawks. And Victor Kane, local real estate shark who'd dropped out at $500, smirking. If this tale grips you like an undertow, hit that subscribe button. Like if your pulse is racing, share with your adventure squad and drop a comment. What's the wildest auction D you've heard of? We're diving deeper. Stick around. Back at his sparse apartment overlooking the Intracoastal, Jake spread the artifacts across the kitchen table, scarred by too many solo meals. The journal's prose gripped him. Thorne's tales of wartime dives, narrow escapes from U-boats, the Meridian's hold bulging with ingots stamped Uncle Sam. Value? Millions if recovered legally. Permits needed. Divers. Gear he lacked since mustering out. He cross-referenced coordinates on his laptop, pulling NOAA charts. The wreck sat in 120 feet, currents treacherous, visibility nil some days. Perfect for a SEAL. But Thorne's last note chilled. Shadowed by rivals. Trust no one. Jake leaned back, coffee steaming untouched. Purpose flickered, but shadows loomed. That SUV, Kane's crew? Dawn broke humid, Jake at the marina by 0600. His old Zodiac, trailered since discharge, inflated with practiced pumps. He loaded tanks scavenged from buddies, regulators gleaming. Sextant calibrated against horizon. As he motored out, Wilmington's skyline shrank to a smudge. Waves slapped hull rhythmic, building tension in his chest. Radio crackled static. Then a voice. "Harlan, that you out there?" He killed the engine, drifting. Binoculars swept horizon. Nothing. Imagination? No. Seals didn't imagine threats. He donned gear, BC inflated, mask cleared, plunged into the green abyss. Descent measured in exhales. 30 feet. Schools of snapper parted. 60. Pressure built. Familiar squeeze. 90. Seabed emerged, silts swirling like ghosts. There. A mound unnatural, encrusted with coral. The Meridian's bow, propeller twisted like a broken promise. Jake ned closer, light beam cutting murk. Amid debris, a hatch yawned. Inside, shapes glinted. Ingots? Heart hammered against ribs. He signaled up, but solo rules applied. Document, don't disturb. GoPro rolling, he captured footage. Stenciled crates, faint markings matching Thorne's sketches. Surfacing lungs burned sweet air. Zodiac rocked gentle now, but elation soured. That black SUV idled at the marina dock upon return, Kane himself leaning against it, arms crossed. Mid-40s, sharp suit clashing with salt air, eyes cold as steel cables. Harlan, right, ex-SEAL, saw you bit on 47. Kane's voice smooth, salesman veneer. Thorne's unit, old family friend. Mind a chat? Jake uncoiled tanks, stance wide. Public auction, dares keepers. Kane chuckled low, stepping closer. Waves lapped pilings. Thorne owed me. Debts don't sink with ships. Hand over the logbook, we walk friendly. Tension coiled. Jake's hand hovered near dive knife sheathed at belt. Owed for what? Everything gear, maps, man's luck ran dry. Kane's gaze flicked to the Zodiac's cargo. You're good in water, but land? My world. Jake weighed odds. Kane alone, but goons likely nearby. Retreat meant losing momentum. Fight meant complications. Walk, Jake said flat. Or swim. Kane paused, smile fading. Big mistake, soldier. He backed to SUV, engine roared away. Night fell heavy. Jake pored over footage in a dingy motel off US 17, laptop glow his only company. Ingots confirmed, dozens assay value skyrocketing with gold prices. But Thorne's journal hid more. A secondary cache, personal effects for kin. A daughter, lost to time. Jake's own father, another vet, flashed unbidden. Absentee ghost. Parallels stung. Phone buzzed anonymous. Harlan, Kane sends regards. Coordinates yours, but Rex claimed. Federal waters. Click. Threat veiled. Jake plotted counters. Dive permits filed online. Anonymous LLC formed for recovery rights. He called Marco, old platoon mate turned charter captain. Need backup, deep dive, payday big. Marco's laugh barked. Thought you ghosted, brother. In. Next dawn, duo motored out. Marco's Boston whaler, cutting swells. Kane's shadow trailed. A sleek cabin cruiser. Hull slicing parallel mile off. Psychological chess now. Jake, kitted full. Dry suit, lights, scooters for speed. Descent tandem. Marco on anchor watch. Jake jetted through canyons, wreck looming larger. Hatch pried wider. Inside crates shifted by time. He pried one, seals held. Inside, not just gold, letters bound, addressed Elias Jr., Thorne's heirloom, and a smaller box, deeds to coastal parcels, mineral surveys hinting oil seeps. Eureka twisted. This wasn't pirate loot. Government payroll, yes, but attached manifests showed bonus allotments for Thorne's family. Land grants undeveloped, now prime with offshore booms. Life changers squared, ascent urgent. Decompression stops dragged. Surface breached, Marco hauled him aboard. Company closing fast. Cruiser bore down, wake crashing. Kane's voice boomed amplified. Cut engines, hand it over. Jake grinned feral. Your move, shark. Marco gunned throttles. Whaler danced waves, evading. Pursuit wild. Spray blinding, hulls groaning. Kane's boat heavier, couldn't match agility. They shook him off at jetties, docking amid tourists oblivious. Back ashore, Jake secured loot in a safety deposit box downtown. Deeds authenticated next day at County Clerk. Pristine. Thorne's lineage traced to a widow in Raleigh. She wept quiet thanks over phone, voice frail. Papa's dream, thought lost. But Kane loomed. Nightmail delivered. Photo of Jake's truck, slashed tires implied. Escalation. Jake adapted. Marco scouted. Kane's empire built on foreclosed marinas, whispers of coerced deals. Antagonist clear, greed incarnate, Thorne's rival revived, purpose solidified, not just riches, justice. Jake filed salvage claims, lawyers looped, media tip anonymous. Ex-SEAL versus developer over historic wreck, headlines brewed. Kane countered with lawyers slimy. Standoff psychological, taunts via proxies, shadows at dives. Weeks blurred. Joint ops with Marco yielded more ingots, auctioned quiet through brokers. Funds flowed. First check cleared 6 figures. Jake bought gear anew, paid debts. But land deeds, valued at 8. Life pivoted. Kane cornered him at a harbormaster's office, air-thick tension. You think gold buys peace? That wreck's mine by right. Jake met eyes steady. Rights earned, not stolen. Fists clenched. Security hovered. Kane retreated snarling. Deeper dives revealed Thorne's full truth. Kane's father, Thorne's partner, betrayed him post-war, claiming credit, lands. Cycle broken now. As fall winds sharpened, Jake stood on recovered Parcel Bluff, surveying waves that birthed fortune. Purpose anchored. No drift, legacy claimed. Yet Kane plotted Al Gambit. Kane's shadow lingered like fog over the coastal cliffs, his Al player calculated strike born from years of envy. He'd traced Jake's moves through old contacts, piecing together the storage unit's secrets. A faded nautical chart tucked among rusted relics, leading to this very bluff where Spanish galleons had splintered centuries ago, spilling their cargo into the sea's greedy embrace. Kane owned the adjacent land, a crumbling estate he'd inherited but never tamed, and now he aimed to swallow Jake's discovery whole. From his weathered pickup, hidden in the tree line, Kane watched through binoculars. He'd filed a quiet claim dispute that morning, leveraging forged documents suggesting the parcel had always been part of his boundary. Lawyers were en route, but Kane preferred shortcuts. Tonight, under cover of dusk, he'd tamper with the survey markers Jake had planted, shift the boundaries just enough to force a legal quagmire. Then, the real prize. Divers he'd hired to scour the waves for the gold-laden remnants the chart promised. Jake sensed it first, a prickle at the base of his neck, honed from desert patrols and midnight extractions. He wasn't the man who'd bid $300 on a whim anymore, chasing ghosts of his service days. The unit had unearthed not just the chart, but purpose. A tether pulling him from aimless contracting gigs back to the water he once commanded. He'd sold what scraps he could, funded a small crew, and reclaimed the bluff legally after weeks of records dives. But peace? That required vigilance. He crouched low, scanning the horizon. Footprints in the damp soil, too fresh for wind or rain. Kane. Jake's hand brushed the concealed holster at his belt, not for violence, but readiness. He moved like smoke, SEAL training resurfacing, silent steps, shadow merges. The wind carried salt and deceit. By the access road, Kane knelt, prying at a marker post with a crowbar. His breath came ragged, fueled by resentment. Jake had everything handed to him, military glory, now this windfall, while Kane scraped by on failed ventures. One twist of wire, one relocated pin, and the bluff reverted to him. He could auction the salvage rights, rebuild. A twig snapped. Kane froze. Too late. Jake emerged from the scrub, voice steady as steel. Evening, neighbor, in night for boundary work. Kane bolted upright, crowbar swinging wide in reflex. It whistled past Jake's ear, embedding in earth. This is my land, soldier boy. Always was. Walk away, or regret it. Jake sidestepped, calm precision. No rage, just assessment. Kane lunged again, wild. Jake parried with a forearm block, twisting the tool free. It clattered away. Kane charged, fists flying, barroom haymakers from a man who'd never faced disciplined fury. Jake absorbed a glancing blow to the shoulder, then countered with economy, a knee to the thigh, unbalancing. Kane stumbled into the bluff's edge, gravel skittering toward the surf below. Gasping, he pulled a crumpled envelope from his jacket, the forged deed. See this? Courts'll back me. You're done. Jake pinned him against a boulder, firm but unyielding. Court see truth. I dug the archives. Your grandpa sold this slice off in 52. Signatures match. He nodded to his truck where originals waited, notarized. Kane's eyes widened, checkmated by paper, not punches. Sirens wailed distant, Kane's own lawyer calling authorities after spotting the truck. Trespass turned sabotage. As cuffs clicked later under floodlights, Kane spat defiance, but it rang hollow. His gambit crumbled, exposing deeper debts, schemes unraveling like frayed rope. Jake watched the cruiser fade into night, pulse steady. No triumph dance, just quiet reclamation. Dawn broke clear, revealing his crew rigging buoys for the first sanctioned dive. The waves whispered secrets, yielding coins etched with faded crowns, relics pieced into history. Months blurred into rhythm. Jake transformed the bluff, a modest recovery outpost partnering with local historians. No empire but steady work, training apprentices in safe extraction, sharing proceeds with town coffers for coastal preservation. The cycle he'd broken wasn't just Kane's grudge, it was his own drift, post-service void, filled by salt air and purpose. One evening, as artifacts gleamed under workshop lights, Jake unrolled the original chart for his nephew, wide-eyed visitor. This wasn't luck, it was waiting, for someone ready. The boy traced galleon routes, fire kindled. Legacy rooted now, not in glory tales, but tangible ground. Kane faded to county whispers, his estate auctioned clean. Jake stood taller on that bluff, waves no longer thieves but allies. If this tale of grit and hidden fortunes gripped you, hit that like button, subscribe for more cinematic journeys, share with a friend and drop a comment. Where are you watching from today? Years later, the outpost thrived, a beacon amid shifting tides. Jake, weathered but anchored, surveyed his domain one last golden hour. Purpose eternal, no more drifts, just less call of the sea, answered.